If you're placed in immigration court proceedings, you will now only be guaranteed 10 days to find an attorney. That's the holding of matter of AKR, a new BIA case that now controls all immigration courts all over the United States. Under this new case law, you're only entitled to guaranteed 10 days. Now, to understand this, you have to recognize the difference between the Sixth and the Fifth Amendment. The Sixth Amendment guarantees you a free lawyer if you're in criminal proceedings. Immigration court proceedings are not criminal proceedings. So, for that reason, you're not entitled to a free lawyer. Now, because immigrants are being denied of their life and liberty when they're placed in immigration court proceedings, they are owed the opportunity to have a lawyer represent them. But that right comes from the Fifth Amendment that guarantees a fair and just hearing. But because the government employs attorneys to represent the government and help deport the person, there are ICE attorneys that do this, then the respondent, the immigrant, isn't also entitled to their own attorney in immigration court proceedings. But that respondent must find the attorney themselves and has to pay for it themselves. Now, in order to meet the due process fairness requirement, you have to give the respondent a certain amount of time to find a lawyer. And the Immigration and Nationality Act only provides 10 days. And that is 10 days from the moment that you are given your notice to appear, which starts immigration court proceedings. It's a piece of paper, to your first hearing date. Now, recognizing that 10 days is not enough time to find a lawyer, the government came up with two solutions. The first one was in matter of CB, a BIA case that came out in 2012 that held that you are entitled to a reasonable time to find a lawyer. And most judges have interpreted that to about 3 months to 6 months, more or less, sometimes more. And the second thing is you are entitled to a continuance to find a lawyer. So if you go to your first hearing, you don't have one, judges have the discretionary authority to grant you more time to find a lawyer. And most of the time, as far as my practice for over 7 years, I've always seen a judge grant a continuance at the first hearing. But this case no longer grants that. This case says that due process is met if you meet the INA's definition of due process, which is 10 days. Now, you can gain more time if your jurisdiction or your circuit actually gave you more time. So in the Fifth Circuit, where this case happened, Fifth Circuit actually grants 30 days in order to meet the due process requirement, but that only controls in the Fifth Circuit. So the person in this case actually had 30 days from the moment the notice to appear was issued in order to meet the due process requirement. They actually had more than that. But due process was satisfied just in that circuit because that circuit had given 30 days. And every one of the 13 circuits is going to have a different definition of how much time is required to meet the due process requirement to find a lawyer. Now, the takeaway here is if you have an immigration court case coming, you cannot wait to find a lawyer. You have to have a lawyer at your first hearing now. You cannot expect to go there, get your advisals, and then find a lawyer 3 months later. That is not an option anymore. Thanks for listening. If you want to see more on this, go to The Migration on Substack.